Hey everyone, it's Blake, and welcome in to episode number 23 of our WWE 2021 save in TEW 2020. This is sort of our, one of our usual in-between episodes where we look at the state of WWE based on where we are at in the game. We did one of these for July. You guys seem to enjoy that a bit, so we're just going to do a quick one here for August, kind of open things up a little bit more, let you have a peek into what things look like, sort of from the data standpoint and all those other things in the game based on where we are. As you can see right now, as we said before, we have no issues making money, right? Or WWE, we've got all the money in the world. We can do whatever we want. So that's never really a problem. You can kind of see over here, obviously we've got a pretty long list here of things, and I'm not going to go all the way down because there probably are some things that maybe signings and such we want to try to hide, but they're still just, when we have 84 workers, right, on the roster. This is one of the challenges of doing a game with WWE, in my opinion. Is you just have so many people to use, and obviously that leads to morale issues and all that. Because Booker T, Jerry Lawler, these are people that we're just not using in any way, shape, or form. Now, I'm sure if we had like 3 shows a week or 4 shows a week, we could probably put these two on commentary somewhere. But right now, we just don't have that option, right? So you're getting these kind of things. And so when you look at these different sort of morale issues and where things are, we've got a lot of these notes, but unless someone is just really angry, like I usually just am like, all right, there's nothing we can do about this. Let's just leave it. And they're just going to have to be unhappy. So you can kind of see that here with some of the things we have going on this side. And we obviously don't have to worry about getting penalized for looking too amateurish because we have plenty of wrestlers on the roster. And, again, we have 6 workers that are away. So there's just a lot happening. And look, I mean, I'll even say this, like, and this isn't really spoiling anything, but like someone like Alexa Bliss, we haven't even used yet in the series. So there's just so many people to juggle, and we've tried to do that pretty well, I think, in the save thus far because we do have the brand split going on, and that makes it easier. But there's just a lot of people to use, and that's where like I've been able to sort of plot out when we're going to use some of these people. And like I said, we haven't even seen Alexa Bliss yet. We're going to see her at some point in the near future, but like I haven't even used her yet, and we're two months in. So this is one of the challenges I think with just doing a WWE game. So that's why I always say if you're someone that, let's say you're new to TEW, I would not start with WWE, even if it's like your favorite brand in the world. And I'm not gonna tell you what to do. You do whatever you want, whatever is fun for you. But like when I did that, like it's so challenging, I think, to do this company because there's just so many things to juggle. And as you can see, like there's plenty of the stuff we can get into when you look at where we're at right now in terms of just the company. We still don't have a figurehead. Like we haven't done any of that because I think if you kind of look at where we're at on that front, there's really no one that necessarily meets that criteria. So we don't use that with this. Someone had mentioned in the comments asked about the product and such. Well, because we started as the booker and we left Vince as the owner, I probably could have done it the other way. Maybe that would have made more sense to have a little bit more wiggle room with what I can do in this save. But I wanted to just try to do it, as close as I could to the actual thing, even though that has made some challenges when it comes to signings and other things. But, we can't really change the product because Vince likes it this way. Sure, we could, we could make some changes and find our way into that role and everything would be fine. But, that's one of the issues that we do have just in terms of, actually doing it as the booker is we go back to like our owner goals and all of that. Like we don't have a lot of room to do a lot because Vince has kind of made it to where, he just doesn't give us the option to be able to do that. And so, we kind of cycle through some of the things that we try to do. We can't hire anyone medium or above. So obviously that takes away what we could do in AEW and places like that. So we're trying to, at least from the start, I think, put together a roster that we're meeting the owner goals and all those other things. But I can't say that I won't veer off course eventually. Once I get tired of Vince's antics, I'm just going to be like, all right, Vince, we're going to do it our way. And hopefully he doesn't fire me. I'm just kidding. I won't let it get to that point. Everything else you look at, our title situation, it's kind of the same. I think we track some of our prestige and everything. There really hasn't been anything that's changed. Again, we're only 2 months in, so there's not like there's anything surprising about that. we still got a lot of storylines going on, some better than others. So it's just, I think actually Kevin Owens probably has the best one right now. If we cycle through, I think there are some that, well, Drew McIntyre, Bray Wyatt, that one's gone pretty well. For whatever reason, the Reigns one is only at 69. I'm not sure exactly why that is. Well, actually, here we go. The Bryan Lashley one is at 81, so it has the best heat and all of that. So this is, yeah, there's just a lot, a lot going on with our storylines and everything. So if you're someone new, I would again suggest just start the Great American Bash. If you don't feel like you can go back through and watch all 22 episodes or whatever leading to Great American Bash, I would start there. That gives you a pretty good idea, at least on the SmackDown side. You won't know where things are on Raw, but if you want to start on the SmackDown side, go to Great American Bash with that. If we look at our show history, things like that, you can kind of see. I mean, we've had a lot of shows, right? Like we've done 18 shows thus far, and I think if we just look at it from a top 100 standpoint, you can kind of see. We laughed here recently about our just terrible episode of SmackDown. That was easily one of our worst shows we've had after the very first two shows we had, which our first two Raw and SmackDown shows were just awful. But everything else we've done pretty well. I mean, even, King of the Ring still kind of leading the way. We had that great Raw recently. Great American Bash was good. So we're kind of seeing our scores in this range here. And I think that's pretty much what we're aiming for, because our overall popularity and everything like that right now, if we look at it, we're at a 75. If we look at the progress, like we started, and remember, we're still in the cooling off phase or whatever it is, our popularity has gone down. And again, I'm not shocked by that, as someone else mentioned in the comments. Like, the reason is we have some people that are over. We have those top stars that are in the 80s or the 90s. I don't think we have anyone in the 90s, actually. I don't know if Roman's there or not. I don't think so. I think he's just mostly high 80s. But we just don't have a lot of. We have a lot of people that are in that 50 to 60 range. Like, we don't have a lot of people that are just really over. And because, if we look at our product real quick, we go back to this, matches are rated on the ratio, in-ring action, popularity. So we know, kind of based on, this is a product that's going to be based a lot on popularity, because it is, the classic sports entertainment, where, yes, great matches are appreciated, but their popularity is a big part of it. And that's where, like, when we look at our size and everything, it's no surprise that we're going down, because we just have a lot of people that are in that middle range. Now, we're starting to see some people make that jump and get over pretty well, but like, our popularity, as I said before, because we just dipped down immediately after that very first week where our two shows were terrible, we're just kind of in that pattern here where we're going to drop a little bit, but I think eventually we'll be back up. But it's a challenge, like, to keep WWE at that point. So yeah, it's that's one of the issues. So when we look at kind of where we are, again, the cooling off period, we were in that 6-month cooling off period after falling below big. That was from the very start of our save. So that is also a challenge that we're dealing with. If we look at some of the other stuff that we have going on, if we look at our top matches thus far, I always found that interesting. We've had a lot of matches in this 70s range, but we still haven't gotten one above, like, we haven't got one 80 or above. So that has been a challenge. I think that's going to change at SummerSlam. Hopefully, I'm correct on that. I would be very disappointed if it doesn't, based on some of the matches we have in store. But clearly, a lot of our King of the Ring stuff, Daniel Bryan over AJ Styles, that's still, to this point, our King of the Ring final has been our best match. So, yeah, just a lot of matches in that range. But like I said, I would hope that at least in the next month or so, we'll hit that 80 or above. I think with SummerSlam coming up, we're going to have a lot going on with that. If we look at developmental, all this kind of stuff right now, we've got a lot of people there, as we know. Again, if you're just catching up on the game, one of the noteworthy things is that actually Triple H, which I don't know why he's not in there. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. Triple H came out of retirement, so therefore he's just basically doing whatever he wants in developmental. And I think he has a feud going on with Finn Balor, maybe. So NXT's been kind of a mess so far. So that's something to kind of look at. That's something we've kept our eye on. Of course, Triple H is the owner, booker, all this other stuff with everything that he has going on. Actually, there we go. We can look at it here. So Triple H is just, he's wrestled quite a bit in NXT. I wouldn't say a ton, but He's had a feud going on with Finn Balor, and so yeah, I don't know what Triple H is doing, but he's caused a lot of things, a lot of craziness in NXT thus far. That also we can look at when we look at sort of the relationships we have with other companies. Of course, AEW, it's not good when we look at the opinion there. And also, again, we won't go into it, but NXT's at war with AEW. NXT's at war with New Japan. So that is something else to consider to see if anything comes of that in the game. But that is also something we've had to look at and realize that, again, there's just a lot going on with WWE and where things are right now. But we don't really have, anything to note here on, regional battles or anything. Obviously, we're going to be at the top of that based on all the people we have on the roster. So that is also something, we don't really concern ourselves with. So it's really been, I think it's been easy to sort of, obviously look at WWE and book it from a standpoint of just the booking part of it, because we don't really have to worry about money. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We don't have to worry about losing battles or any of that. So that is one of the positives of playing with WWE is, you pretty much know all that stuff's taken care of. You're not gonna spend a lot of time on all of that. So that is, everything else. I guess when you look at it, if we look at our upcoming schedule, I keep hyping up SummerSlam. Obviously, that's going to be a very big show based on a lot of things we have planned for that. So that's going to be a huge show. As I mentioned several weeks ago, we have the 2-night Mae Young Classic in December. It was originally set for October. I moved that around for storyline purposes for a storyline that we're going to have in place. So we had to move it to December. So that'll take place. It'll be a 2-night event. I think as of right now, we're going to do that as a 16-woman tournament. So that will be, night one, first round, or I don't know how we're going to do it. Night one, first round, then we'll kind of go from there, I think, in the next part. So it should be fun. I think that's going to be an interesting one, but we've pretty much got everything outlined from SummerSlam to the Mae Young Classic, I think, right now, based on, we'll get through Unforgiven, No Mercy, Survivor Series. We got a lot of big things in the works. So that's good, trying to stay ahead booking-wise on that. Really, I don't know if there's anything else that just completely, again, these episodes are pretty short usually. This is just sort of a quick overview for anyone that wants to jump into the game or jump into the series that, again, maybe you don't have time to go back through and listen or watch the other 20-something episodes. This is just sort of a point you can use as a launching pad for where things are on that. So if you want, and I will just do this here quickly, you can sort of look at what we did with Great American Bash. That was our most recent show. Again, I encourage you to go back and watch all the others we've done, but this just kind of gives you a point, to start with if you'd like. We did get a 76 with Great American Bash. We had our big closing angle with Roman Reigns attacking Vince McMahon. You probably get more out of that story if you watch it from the start, because that was actually when we did start from the very, I think, first or second show. That sort of angle that teased a potential interaction between Roman and Vince down the line. And we got that at Great American Bash. So we have some momentum coming off of that. And again, now we built to SummerSlam on both the Raw and SmackDown side. So anything else? I mean, finances. Look, we don't have to worry about this, right? Like, if only we all had as much money as WWE has. We have no issues there. We're making money. And everything else is just kind of, where it's at right now. When you look at, we use the WWE Network. Still, that's where our events are held. I mean, you see all these places we have for Raw and SmackDown, and haven't really been much of a concern there. When you look at it, everything is just kind of everything's fine from this standpoint. And if you've played with WWE in the game, or let's say you use this particular mod, it's really just a matter of popularity. Like, you're just trying to get people over and get that popularity, and that's kind of where I think we're at right now. Is just, we're trying to get our mid-card over more, because our mid-card is kind of hurting a little bit from a popularity standpoint. We've got stars at the top, but if we look at our backstage and everything we've got going on there, I mean, as you can see, there's not really we know some of the things that have really been a big issue as of late was Paul Heyman kind of trying to put AJ Styles, throwing AJ Styles under the bus with everyone. That's one of the things we've had to deal with thus far. Also, We know Ricochet is someone that, for whatever reason, Austin and Triple H have just not liked Ricochet, so that's been another thing. Jinder Mahal and his steroid thing, that's also been something we've had to deal with. But our backstage rating, I mean, look, it's at 100%, so we're not really, again, something else we don't really have to do a lot with. So that is kind of just a general overview of where things are right now for us as we head into August. We will jump into Raw, and that will lead us on basically an 8-show run to SummerSlam. So that is it. That is where things are in WWE in our save here. And again, there's not a lot. Like when I try to do these in between episodes, there's really not a whole lot to do, because I think it'd probably be more interesting if WWE, if we were just struggling to make money and we were on the way up. But as the top company, there's really only so much you can go through. It's at this point, I think it's just the enjoyment of the storylines and adding stars and building stars and that kind of stuff, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So as always, be sure to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, and we will have coming up here the next edition of Raw. And again, I know I mentioned before, perhaps doing like how I book and that in this particular series, doing it within this playlist, maybe on this video each month at the end of the month. I think I'm actually going to make a separate playlist for those and just put in a lot of sort of, I don't want to call them instructional videos, because I'm not trying to tell everyone how to play the game, but I'm just going to put some videos in there, make a playlist of how I go about, booking and the spreadsheets and all this stuff I've mentioned before. I think I'm just going to put that in a separate playlist so it doesn't get necessarily lost in this particular series. So I'm going to make a separate video, separate playlist for that. So that's still in the works. I know I've been talking about it for probably several weeks now, but I promise I'm working on it. It's just, it takes a little time. So check everything out. Again, if you're just catching on to this one, go back to the start, watch it from the beginning if you want, or catch up with the Great American Bash and join the ride from there. Either way, it's a lot of fun, and as always, I do appreciate the great feedback. You guys have been awesome, and it makes this really fun to do. So we will keep moving right along here on the series. And again, up next, it will be our August Week 1 edition of WWE Raw.